The events before, during, and after the attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi, Libya, last September 11th remain under intense scrutiny. House Republican investigators have found a new whistleblower who's expected to offer some harshly critical testimony later this week. Our chief congressional correspondent, Dana Bash, has been watching what's going on. Dana, lots of new developments. What's the latest?
Well, I just talked to a Republican congressman who's on this committee who insisted that they are going to have a blockbuster hearing this week with lots of surprises that they're saving for the big event. But, you know, the committee is strategically releasing teasers from their star witness, teasers that Democrats call partisan, but Republicans call proof of the Obama administration's misleading acts in this incident.
4 military personnel were ready to board a plane from Tripoli, Libya to Benghazi to help American citizens under fire at the consulate there, but were ordered by superiors not to go. That's what Gregory Hicks, chief of mission in Libya at the time, told House Republican investigators.
At the point that this plane was being loaded, it was between the first attack that killed 2 and the second attack that killed 2 more. They may not have arrived in time to save lives, but at the time the decision was made, the decision was wrong.
Who made that decision?
We want to find out who made this decision.
The Pentagon has not yet responded to Hicks' claim. House GOP Chairman Darrell Issa calls Hicks a Benghazi whistleblower, saying Hicks will testify this week that he believes the Pentagon made a mistake by not scrambling F-15s to fly over, arguing it would have scared the attackers and might very well have prevented some of the bad things that happened that night, Hicks told GOP investigators. Then Defense Secretary Leon Panetta argued by the time military response could have arrived, the attack was over.
This is not 911. You cannot just simply call and expect within 2 minutes to have a team in place.
Hicks will also bolster GOP claims that Obama officials knew from the start it was not what they publicly suggested, a spontaneous demonstration. I think everybody in the mission thought it was a terrorist attack from the beginning, Hicks told investigators, saying slain Ambassador Chris Stevens' final report to Hicks was, "Greg, we are under attack." Earlier this year, Hillary Clinton snapped at Republicans for dwelling on questions about what sparked the attack.
The fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
Hicks told investigators it made a big difference because UN Ambassador Susan Rice called it a demonstration on television minutes after Libya's leader called it an attack, offending Libya and making it harder for the FBI to investigate.
Greg Hicks' testimony that it is simply his opinion.
Weeks later, in New York, the president of Libya was still upset about being essentially called out as either misinformed or lying on national TV here in the U.S. So I think it suffice to say it had an effect on our diplomatic relations.
The committee's top Democrat argues they were iced out of the investigation, calling it a, quote, partisan report with reckless and false accusations.
How do you answer the charge that what you're doing is partisan?
Well, I think that changing the talking points from the truth to an untruth is certainly partisan and likely for political reasons. But I think the better question is, why are the Democrats not just as upset that we didn't do all we could do to save American lives?
Now, ICE's Democratic counterpart Elijah Cummings says that they are as interested as Republicans in finding the facts, but that what ICE and his fellow Republicans are doing are engaging in, quote, investigation by press release, which he says does a disservice to our common goal of finding those facts. Wolf.
Hovering over all of this, as you know, Dana, is the assertion, the allegation that those talking points that Ambassador Susan Rice received that took out any reference to al-Qaeda, for example, or a planned terrorist operation as opposed to some sort of spontaneous protest demonstration, which apparently occurred in Cairo, that was all part of the political objective of avoiding any references to al-Qaeda only weeks before the re-election of the President of the United States. That could have undermined his stature, if you will. And I suspect we'll be hearing a lot of those kinds of suggestions that this was done for political, partisan reasons.
No question about it. The Republicans have been saying this really since maybe a few weeks after this attack, that this is all part of an effort by the Obama administration to sort of tamp down on the concept of terror threats being out there still. And that's the kind of the culture that led to what they say are some of the misleading comments that came from the Obama administration. And there's no question that will be one of the themes that we've heard before, but we'll hear a lot more of in Wednesday's hearing.
Yeah, we'll have extensive coverage of that hearing on Wednesday. Thanks very much for that, Dana, reporting from the Hill.